Welcome to the Truth Sideline Podcast, the podcast about youth sports. This is Pete Janny, and I'm joined by my co-host Mike Jarvis. Mike, how you doing?
Great. Yeah, and I'm glad to get together and excited about see where this can go.
Hopefully, the first of many. Obviously, we have a vision in place for what we want to talk about regarding youth sports. There's a lot going on right now across the whole landscape, but just want to talk to you on a human level first. Mike, what's going on with your life right now? How's everything, and how are things going for you at work?
Great. Yeah, I'm the senior associate director over at Stony Brook University. Been on the job for about 9 months. It's interesting. It's first time doing this job, this role, like advancement role at a public institution. So the differences between Stony Brook and my last stop, Fairfield U, are definitely different. It's been a learning experience. I think I'm excited. We have football. The team is doing decent right now. Excited for a big basketball season, and then obviously I'm juggling time, shuttling my kids around to their games and activities as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know there's never a perfect time to do things like this. Obviously, we're committing to something and we want to bring something to our listeners because we truly care about it. Obviously, Mike, you have kids, you go to their games. I don't have kids yet. Hopefully at some point I'll be lucky and I'll get to that point. But a
Don't
little bit more time on my hands and just trying to stay with it. Obviously, there's a lot going on. I don't work full time in sports right now, but I try to follow literally everything I can, obviously, in the middle of the football season right now, both NFL and college, and really just keeping track of what's going on in the NIL world and college sports and all the money being poured into it as we're seeing. And you know that best considering you work full time in college sport. Yeah, yeah. So without further ado, I guess we'll get into it. We talked a little bit about the premise here, youth sports. There are a couple other podcasts out there, Youth Incorporated, hosted by Greg Olson, as well as the Pure Athlete podcast, hosted by former MLB player Jeff Francoeur. What they're doing is really cool. And I know, Mike, you've been able to see a lot of their stuff too. And I think it's been pretty cool to kind of bounce ideas off each other. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot, and obviously those guys are doing a fantastic job. I just think there's so many opportunities for people like us to help parents, coaches, anybody that really wants to be involved in sports, kind of navigate everything and be a resource to. Hopefully, we can help people do it better. Hopefully, I can learn from this, and we'll have guests on, and I can do it better as well. So it's not just about being like the almighty resource for everybody, but really just to help people learn.
100%. Totally agree with you. When you came to me and asked me about this idea, it's actually an interesting time right now in my life because I've just gotten into youth coaching. Started helping out with a seventh and eighth grade basketball team, and this is my first ever foray into it. And obviously, it's seventh and eighth graders, low stakes, but you want to try to instill within the kids now the fundamentals of the game. And that's something that I'm working my best on trying to do. I was never the best player, but I'm really enjoying this kind of new chapter of being a coach and taking it seriously and kind of seeing where it takes me. So when you reached out to me, Mike, I thought it like, wow, this is perfect timing because here I am starting this out and I'm learning something new every single day. I'm learning, just seeing how the kids go about their business. Everybody has different personalities. You got to know how to deal with them. And obviously, you were a coach for a long time as well on a much higher level, Division I basketball, to say the least. Is there any advice that you could offer even to somebody like me, given your background?
The biggest thing is to make sure, and I think it's on all levels, is making sure your kids are having fun first. Um, you have to become the expert. You can't leave any doubt as to, what you're doing. So as far as teaching the fundamentals and just really trying to, before you get too advanced, really have them master the basics. Major in the minors, as they say, is the biggest thing. So people aren't, you shouldn't. you shouldn't go to with the expectation that you're going to have anything super intricate. It's more just kind of keeping it basic, and really at seventh and eighth grade, you're just trying to provide them a base. So hopefully they can make their high school team, and then if they're good enough, they can possibly play in college. But that's like even with my kids, like my biggest hope is that they find something that they love to do and then want to play in high school, and that way they have kind of like a path is for the 4 years, and then playing in college, like that's a whole nother world. But hopefully they're good enough and have enough basic skills to be able to play in high school.
Yeah, I mean, those are really all really good points. I think when you're like in my case, I'm coaching 7th and 8th graders. So these are, 11, 12-year olds, and they're just trying to go out there and have fun. I think I see potential in some kids, and it's exciting. It's like, oh, I want to push some of these kids because I think they could really be great. But at the same time, you don't want to overload them either because they're just so young. And I've talked about. Even we had when I spoke to you the other day, I was like, what defense should I run? But it's you know, it's
Yeah.
more than wins and losses at this level. And we're not going to be running the Princeton offense. We're not going to be doing anything advanced. It's just, I think the biggest thing is getting better every day and making sure these kids are having fun and making sure their parents know that their children are enjoying it and learning from me. I think that's the biggest thing. So, obviously, in college, you build toward March. And in my case, right, we're just trying to build toward that next game. And I'm excited. Hopefully, I'll have some good updates in a couple of weeks. Our first game is coming up in I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and honestly, you'll be able to tell, like, if you did a great job as to how many kids stick with it after the season's over. So if they come back next year and play, like, you could say, like, if everybody comes back, you did a great job because they loved
Right,
it and they want to be there.
right,
So that's
right.
that's probably the biggest testament, I think, when the kids are young, as to what type of job that you're doing, and hopefully the parents kind of see that you're passionate about it, and you have the kids' best interests.
You mentioned Mike. Obviously, your two kids right now are playing youth sports. I just want to get into that a little bit more. Can
Sure.
you talk about how that's been for your two kids, Madison and Delaney?
Yeah, so my daughter Delaney, she's right now playing for a club soccer team here in Connecticut. I think it's based out of Easton, Connecticut. So there's kids from Easton, Westport, and Fairfield where we live. Um, she's playing U14s, so it's the age group right before you get to high school. So she's been playing now for 3 or 4 years, travel soccer, and she seems to be liking it a lot, and hopefully, we're hoping that next year she can make like the freshman of the JV team at her high school, and kind of continue on, and I think for what I think with her, it's more of a social thing, but she's pretty good. But as far as like the expectations, where who knows? But she's having fun. She scores a couple goals here and there, and she's working to get better.
So I'm an Easton guy. Do they practice in Easton?
Sometime, yeah. They practice at a school locally here. It's Greens Farms Academy. So they use
Okay.
a couple of
Yeah.
different fields. Yeah, she plays
Yeah.
for a team called Revolution. And then my son, he's been playing soccer up until this year. Um, so this year he last winter he jumped into hockey, ice hockey. So which was my first team sport. I grew up in Boston, so hard not to play. I think everybody plays
Bean
hockey
pop.
for at least 1 year. So my son's playing ice hockey. He plays for a team in the area. It's a travel team as well. So he's that's a whole different beast. Like ice hockey, he loves it though. He's like every chance he gets, he's heading over to the rink for some free time. They practice a few days a week and then play 2 games every weekend at least, and then they don't travel all over craziness, but it's a big commitment for everybody involved. So the weekends are busy. During the week, I'm racing home from off the ferry and driving these guys around, and so and then mom as well. So it's a lot, but I think it's worth it, and for what I
Yep.
can see, they're around kids that are motivated and have goals, and I think most of them are led because they love the sport, and then there's a couple I think that their parents are pushing it harder, but I think it's a good mix. So it's for their age groups. I think it's a good thing. And my son is just gonna he's gonna be 12 next month, so they're right at the beginning stages of kind of starting to get a little bit serious about what they would like. So hopefully we can keep them going with playing at least a couple sports.
So you're obviously a hoops guy at heart. What has it been like watching the other sports, whether it's your
I'll tell
son
you
playing
what.
hockey or
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Hoops, obviously, I would love it, but that didn't catch. I think they wanted to have their own little path, which is fine. Soccer has been I think, a really good developmental sport for young
yeah,
kids, from what I can see. And then the hockey's been fun. The games are a lot of action. I mean, the kids are working. Definitely, when I open up that hockey bag, there's no worse smell. So I know they're getting a good workout in. Um, but no, I think the ice hockey actually is really good. It's as far as being a hockey parent, it's not ideal, but as far as having like an activity where some nice kids, good families,
good.
it's been nice. I have to say.
I feel like I mean, growing up here because I grew up in Connecticut too, is like we really take sports seriously, youth sports seriously around here. It's competitive. I grew up playing soccer and basketball, never reached a high level doing it, but the experiences that I had were some of the most influential experiences. I remember I took a trip to Jamaica with my soccer team. My head coach was from Jamaica.
Well,
And I did that when I was like, whatever, 12, 13 years old. And that was to me still one of like the coolest experiences. We went to Jamaica and we were playing against local teams over there. Just what have you seen with your own kids and just the relationships they've been able to build? Just how special has that been with their teammates?
I'll tell you what. The one thing I do love, when it comes to the youth sports, at least in our town, is that before they got to like middle school, they basically knew every kid that plays sports in their age group in town because they play different teams. They get to meet kids. They go to like the park and play, or like free time at different boys and girls clubs, or even at the rink. Like they have free stick time. So it's a good way for them to make friends, get some exercise, and then I think they're meeting quality adults along the way as well, who have, for the most part, I would say they have the kids' best interests at heart.
Being that you are a parent raising kids in youth sports, what advice would you give to other parents who are raising their kids in youth sports?
The biggest thing is, encourage them to have fun. That's the biggest thing, and it's always not going to be perfect. So you're there more for them to like. Hopefully, they try a whole bunch of different sports, and they're going to be good at some, not great at others. Like, but let them try, let them fail, encourage them, and don't get too caught up into what they're doing as far as like how good they are when they're 11, 12, 13, even 14 years old, because they haven't reached anything yet. Like they could be the best kid. Like I was telling a parent last week, the best kid when I played when I was 14 didn't even make our high school team. So you don't know. Like I think a lot of, especially now, where you mentioned before, there's so much money involved in all different levels, whether it's high school or college. Like people see these big shiny objects, and you don't see it as much here. But I think in the big picture of things, like people are either they think they're going to get Division I scholarships, make money NIL, and God, and then you have the one or two kids that maybe, or their families think they're going to go pro, which is crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, but the biggest thing is let the kids just have a great experience and make friends. And then if they are good enough, you'll know. Like there's no race, and every kid's got to have a different one. So that's the biggest thing I would say as far as being on the parent side.
I think there's a couple concerning trends around youth sports that we'll get into here toward the end of the episode. I just want to segue now. I mean, we're both college guys. We both follow college sports. You obviously work full time in college sports, but you had a father who was a big time college basketball coach. I just want to kind of get your thoughts when you were growing up in the Boston area, just the influence of your father on you and your love for basketball.
Yeah, yeah, and sports in general. So my dad, coached, and he was a phys ed teacher at Cambridge Latin, where I ended up going to high school in Cambridge, Mass. So he coached when I was a 10, 12-year-old kid, like my kid's age or a little bit younger. He was the freshman baseball coach, assistant football coach. He was an assistant basketball coach at Harvard University. He worked for Tom Sanders. So when I was a kid, when I was done school, I would get on the bus, or my mom would drop me off at one of those practices. So every day, I was at somebody's practice, whether it was like the high school football team in my town, Cambridge, or I went to like a baseball practice, or took the bus when I was a little bit older. And then when my dad was coaching at BU, but I would go over to his basketball practices. So every single day, if I wasn't playing myself, I was in the gym watching, learning, I was a bat boy, a ball boy, you name it. I was in it all the time. That was how I grew up, and that's something that I think was very special. I could be with my dad basically all the time. And then I got to meet like some unbelievable, like I got to hang out basically with Patrick Ewing when he was like a freshman, sophomore in high school.
Yeah, so
So
cool.
so
Yeah.
I've known Patrick my whole life and got to see him become what he became. I had an opportunity. My dad coached the McDonald's All American game
Hmm.
in 1981. I was involved with that with Michael Jordan, Chris Mullin. So it's like the experiences that I've had because of my dad coaching and just being a young kid was, I wouldn't trade those for anything.
Do you like? I mean, obviously, we're all so busy in our lives, and lives and life moves at us fast. But do you ever like think back on your growing up and your career and just like how special that was to have your dad like that? And do you ever wonder how different it could have been if you didn't have your dad, who was a big time college basketball coach?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Who knows? Like
Yeah.
you never know what could happen. Would I have the passion and everything that I have growing up? Probably not. I mean, but it's hilarious. I was explaining to my son. We were talking about like teams, and he asked me if I ever got cut from a team, and I was like, "Yeah." So I got cut my sophomore year. I tried out for an all-star team, and there were like three other guards on the team that they were better than me. One went to Rutgers, one went to Providence, and the other one went to like James Madison at the time. And I was like just hitting puberty, not really that great yet. I was a good player, but not at the level. This was like an all-star team from like the greater Boston area that was before AAU became AAU the way it is now. There was only one team from our area, and if you didn't win like the state championship and then New England's, then your summer was over. You played for a your city or town summer league. But my dad was the coach for that team, and he cut me. So, but basically
Yeah.
at that point, you know what? That fueled me a
Yep.
little bit. I got better, and after that, like the next year, I made the team over a couple guys. My dad wasn't even the coach then either, so maybe that was it. He didn't want to coach me, but no. Um, But no, like experiences like that, I don't think a lot of kids really have to go through any real struggles now. There's so many different teams and ways to be on one. It's kind of a shame in some ways, but I mean, I you hear any of the great, and I wasn't a great player. I was pretty good, but you hear any of the great players, they've all had similar type stories, whether they made a team or didn't make a team, but something that fueled them to get to that next level. Um, and that helped me, become the player that I was, and then eventually I got to play at BU.
Well, I think the biggest thing is you faced adversity at an early age. You've head
Yes.
on, you faced it, and you learned how to overcome it, and
Yeah.
that ended up making you better in probably all aspects of your life. I know for me growing up playing soccer, like my dad coached me a little bit. I had the other coach from Jamaica that I referred to, and like it was a strict environment. Like we were expected to come in and do our jobs and make sure that we were sound technically, and that every practice was basically like treated as like a game and treated as something that was serious. And when you're that age, you kind of roll your eyes, but now looking back and you know just thinking about like, okay, those experiences in sports, youth sports, helped make me a better student, help make me a better son, help make me a better worker, help make me a better writer, whatever it may be. Like I think I saw that adversity too. I want to know, like, for Mike Jarvis the second, right, growing up, like what life lessons did you learn during those years that you've been able to apply now, even in your current work as a professional?
I mean, in order for me to play Division I college basketball, I had to almost outwork everybody that I was competing with. Whether it was because number one, my dad was a coach,
Yep.
and then I played for him for a couple years too. So I had to work harder just to be like respected by the players, the assistant coaches, like everybody. And then obviously in college, the whole university like knows who you are, and whether good or bad, like you have kind of like a little target on your back. So I had to work like all the time. But I think through that, it taught me hard work. And and if you do what you need to do, you can basically do anything. So it gave me the network that I have now. I have some great friends, and some played on my team. Other guys that I met that played football, a few NHL players that we're still in close contact. So I would say, like, they talk about your five, or people that you're around the most. Like my five from college,
Mhm.
fantastic. And then you branch that off, and through the basketball community, I've met some unbelievable people and gotten some great opportunities to do some really nice things.
You've been in Connecticut now for a while, Mike, but how much do you miss Boston? Do you miss it?
I do.
Yeah.
Growing up in Cambridge, it's a different place than it was when I grew up. Like anywhere, hopefully, everywhere is evolving. But I go back to BU, and it's unbelievable how much the university's changed. But I miss Boston. But I love being here in Connecticut. It's close enough, close to. I love New York, so I get to head into the city and go to games. My kids and I go to a lot of different sport events. We'll go to Islanders, Rangers, Knicks, any college game that we can see. The great thing here is that I'm pretty good friends
I
with.
I hope they're not Jets fans.
No, they're not Jets fans. Pass. But my
That's
daughter
all.
snuck in the Bills on me. I don't even know how that happened.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's a whatever. I can't really get mad about it. It's the only team that they cannot root for. I don't really care. Like they can root for the Knicks. I have no problem. Like that's fine. Nobody can root for the Yankees though. That's just the one team. Like being a Red Sox and a Boston sports fan, that's just not okay. So
We're
you
gonna I mean,
can't root
I'm
for
a diehard
the
Yankee fan. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. So that's where we're very different. We have similar
Yes.
personalities, but we're
Yep.
very different in that regard. I hate the Red Sox. So I want to go back now talking about some of the concerns that I alluded to earlier. So we talk about the financial expense, right? I'm sure the
Oof.
money that you're paying for your kids to play youth sports is just out of control.
It's unbelievable. I never had any idea as to how much it really costs to do it. It's first of all, I try to explain to the parents because I did coach. Obviously, I coached college, but I coached high school and AAU for a stint, and I was like, "This is not. This is insane. Like what we pay for soccer and ice hockey, and I'm sure all the other sports, baseball now. Like a bat costs $300. Like it's crazy. At least my son showed me a hockey stick. and he thinks I'm getting it for him. It's like $300. I'm like, it's gonna break. It's wood, and like this is like ridiculous. But it is that's the equipment. It's it's an investment, I guess. But no,
No, it is.
the cost is astronomical. I think that's one of the things. And what are we really getting for it? Like, hopefully, my hope is that the kids love it, and like, it, do they appreciate they have no idea. So those are vacations, weekends, you name it. It costs a lot of money though, but it is what I mean, you live here. If you want your kids to be involved in activities, then you almost have no choice. So hopefully we can come to some kind of a resolution, I would say, in some ways, but we'll see what
Look
happens.
at
But it's
soccer. Look at
expensive.
soccer. Soccer is probably the most popular youth sport here in United States. And I've seen people talk about it before, right? You have millions and millions of people playing soccer, but these people are paying a lot of money. How about the people that can't afford it? The people that come from a low socioeconomic background,
Yeah.
and that's actually taking away from our player pool on the national team. We're not discovering talent because we've created this financial barrier for people to get through, and only the people that could afford to play high level soccer and go to different showcases, college showcases. They have the ODP, the Olympic Development Program. A lot of kids don't get that opportunity, and some of the best kids you'll find are the kids that are probably out there playing pickup soccer, or in
Yes.
some cases pickup basketball, or whatever the sport may be.
Yeah, I think in certain sports like soccer, they're missing out on definitely a lot of kids. I think basketball's probably still, at least from what I can see, if you have some talent, they'll find a way to get you. Like
Mhm.
basketball is the one sport where I think people are out there looking for guys because whether it's selfish or not, but they're always trying to find like the next player. So
Mhm.
they get enough sponsorship money from Nike, Adidas, like on the AAU circuit, where they can have teams and the kids don't really have to pay at all. So they're getting funded, but to get to that, they're looking for kids like at an early age. So I think at the grassroots, they're probably more they're doing a better job of uncovering talent than a lot of these other sports where they're just cashing checks at the end.
It wouldn't be a youth sports podcast without talking about specialization and how kids are specializing so early and the dangers of that. You when you're growing up, you want to have fun, you want to explore new things. I played basketball and soccer, right? I only had time for those two sports, and it may not sound a lot, but I was able to what I learned in basketball, I was able to take it to the soccer field. And what I learned in soccer with footwork and things like that, I was able to take it to the basketball court. So like I think it's just a huge mistake that these kids and their parents don't understand how it's so important to branch out early instead of maybe overdoing it and risking burnout by focusing on one sport and one sport only.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I grew up and I played baseball during baseball season. I played soccer, flag football, ice hockey, basketball. I played every sport growing up that you could play. We didn't have it wasn't like this huge variety of sports, but the basic like 3 seasons of sports, you I played on a different team until I was like a freshman in high school. And then in high school, I played baseball and basketball, and that was encouraged. Like the only sport kind of growing up where guys kind of focused in a little earlier was probably ice hockey, just because I guess it's more of a specialized sport than most. But other than that, like now, the way these youth programs are run, they are almost locking you in for basically the whole year because of you're paying when you pay for the whole year. So they have their fall season, say in soccer, and then
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah.
So maybe you get like 3 or 4 weeks, and then they have indoor soccer if you're like serious. If not, then you play something else for a couple months for like a month
Mhm.
and a half, and then you're back at it. Baseball's the same thing now. Basketball is basically all year. Ice hockey, same. Like my son's season this year, we made him pick this year just
Yep.
because we just don't have. I would have to hire like a driver. So his season started. No, serious. His
Yeah.
season
Yeah.
started like end of August. and basically he gets like 2 weeks off in December and goes to like March Madness. So he'll do like I was like, you should play like rugby or something in the spring. Like go just do something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's not
yeah.
gonna be able to jump on a soccer team or anything like that. Not this
And look,
year.
look, yeah,
So
and look, I was gonna say you mentioned rugby. It's a perfect example, like one of those Olympic sports where actually, as it turns out, if you get into it and you start playing it, because not as many people are playing it, you could actually turn out to be very good and get a
yep.
college scholarship, and that's obviously the dream for a lot of parents.
So I was at Fairfield U, and you know whose son played on the rugby team was the captain was John Thompson III.
That's
I
right.
was like, whoa. So yeah, he played rugby and loved it. Like got a great education at Fairfield, and I'm not sure what he's up to now, but nothing wrong with that. So there's a lot of different sports, and hopefully, you know, kids get the exposure. It depends on where you live too. So like here, you're exposed to like all this like the main sports. Then you have like a rugby, crew, jujitsu is not really like a collegiate sport, but wrestling is huge here. So there's some different sports that I think everybody should kind of at least think about. Like in the girls ice hockey now is big. Like
Yeah.
if my daughter wanted to play, I would have zero problems. So I think that's another good sport, and like there's a lot of opportunities in some of the not really mainstream sports, but depends where you live too. So
Connecticut is a great sports place. I mean, you
it
talked about
is.
it. You talked about it with your kids, and I totally could see how it's been so good for them, and it was great for me growing up. On the college level, obviously we've been spoiled with UConn hoops. I think when you look also on the high school level, a sport that's underrated over here is baseball. I think the youth baseball over here is incredible. We saw Fairfield go to make it to the U.S. Championship game in the Little League World
Yeah.
Series, which is incredible. George Springer is a Connecticut guy. He just hit the game winning go ahead home run for the Blue Jays to send them to the World Series. He's from up in New Britain. It's
I think anywhere in New England, if you're a basketball player and you're really good, you're going to private school
oh
or
yeah,
boarding like a prep school. Hockey is similar, and then after that, it just depends. But you don't. It's a shame. Like I grew up, and everybody went to their town's school, city school, and then if you needed like a year of prep school, you did like I did a PG year at Avon Old Farms. But other than that, like people don't play for their hometown team. It's a
no,
shame, especially in the basketball. And then
right.
on the girls side, um, a lot of the girls will play for their team. They play like like say soccer, and then they're going on to like D1 schools. Where the boys, they don't even play because the clubs kind of lock them up. They're not even allowed to play for their high school team.
They're playing the academy,
Yeah, they
right?
play for the academy, which I think is a
Yeah.
shame. So it's like you go to your high school, you hang out with your friends all day, and then you don't even play for the team. So that's
So
something else we could talk about.
yeah, yeah, no, no, we'll have plenty of episodes too. Before we wrap up episode one, the last topic I want to bring up is just the involvement of parents, right? Like it
Yep.
seems like you're super chill with your kids, like letting them find their way, which is awesome. But there's some parents, and you'll see it at games, you'll even see it on social media of them just being way too overbearing, way too aggressive, and basically embarrassing antics out there. How much do you even see that when you're going to your kids' games?
Oh, you see it, and I feel bad because I am probably on the opposite end of the spectrum. I just sit back and I really don't. I don't say anything. I'll be at the game and have it's fun. I'll talk to some parents and watch, and I'm thinking a lot of stuff inside. Like as a former coach, there are no good referees. So why waste your breath yelling, especially as a fan? Why are we wasting our breath or a kids at a kids game? The referees are not going to be good.
No.
The referees are basically volunteering their time. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about these referees, and then you see people like attacking them, yelling at them, falling to their cars like at basketball tournaments. It's ridiculous. So understand that they are basically they're probably making $20 a game. Like this is not their job. They're doing it because they love being around the sport and they want to help, but they are not like professional referees. Let them play, let them have a great time. You're in the stands as a fan and a parent to encourage them, cheer them on, and it should be nothing more than that. Even when they get back in the car, like ask them if they like the first. I never bring up the game. I just ask them, hey, did you have a good time, and where do you want to go eat? And so you get some at least some conversation, and then if the kids bring it up, I have plenty to say, but I'll wait for them to like ask me questions and go from there.
Yeah, I think it's just about letting them find their way, right? Because if you're
Yes.
trying to do too much, and so I know parents have the best intention, parents love their kids, but and everybody's different. But if you're doing things like that, then I think it's a lot easier for kids to kind of fall out of love with the sport that they're playing. These parents that go viral should really know how humiliating it is and hopefully learn their lesson because we've been seeing way too much of it. Well, this was a great first episode. We're really excited to be here. We appreciate you listening. If you enjoyed listening to today's show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Truth Sideline and follow us on social media at The Truth Sideline on Instagram and at Truth Sideline on X. We hope to see you all next time. This is Pete Janny and Mike Jarvis signing off.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.